When I first got this clay, I was worried it would dry out, so I consistently sprinkled water over it, which was not a very good decision, because I keep it in my basement that has very poor ventilation. Even though it's been months, the clay is still very wet, so I'm gonna put it outside to dry. My dog is also wet because to her dismay, I gave her a bath. She absolutely hates taking a bath, and I absolutely hate the smell of wet dog. I am becoming increasingly convinced that giving her a bath makes her smell worse and worse every time, so I really don't know why I keep doing it. Every time she sees me with the hose, she stands as far away from me as possible, and I can't blame her because I also dislike the hose. Mainly because there's a spider that lives right next to the spout, and every time I go to turn it on or off, I imagine it's going to attack me for getting too close to its web. After letting the clay dry out here for half an hour, I tried wedging it on the outside table, and let's just say it didn't work out very well, so I decided to go back inside and wedge it on the bat. To do this, you have to aim for the center of the wheel or else it'll rotate. That may seem pretty obvious, but it took me watching this footage over again to figure it out. With this first ball of clay, I planned to make a cup, but then later I decided it should be a bowl and I kind of destroyed it. So I obviously shouldn't be giving anyone wheel throwing advice, but I will anyway. The most important thing in wheel throwing is making sure your piece is centered, so cone it at least 3 times, at least. I know everyone says that, but it is really important. Always wedge as much as possible, or else you're going to have to poke a lot of air bubbles. You should also constantly be compressing the bottom and top of your piece. I usually use a sponge for this. This is the moment where I ruined the bowl, and I ended up with this mess, but I hate to start over, so I decided to make it into a planter pot. The bottom has a really weird thick middle where it fell in, so I stuck a flower in it, and I didn't really like the design it left when I pulled it out, so I carved my own design. And I used a McDonald's straw to make holes for water leakage. And don't worry, this flower did not go to waste. I donated it to Gregory. She really loves flowers. The bigger the clay is, the harder it is to center. Luckily, I'm very muscular and I can center up to 5 pounds. I'm just kidding. 5 pounds isn't that much and I'm very weak, so it takes me like an hour to center 5 pounds. For this ball of clay, I want to make it into the base of a jar. I want it to look like the kind of jar that you put honey in, some sort of curvy cylinder shape. To make this a jar, I had to create a place for the lid to sit. All you have to do is pull the excess clay at the top out and create a little ridge. And side note, right now I'm wearing my retainer and I'm wondering if you can tell. I don't think it sounds too obvious, but I could be wrong. I really like how the base of the jar turned out, and now I had to make the lid. I like to let my pieces dry on the bat for about an hour or two after I make them. So I've run out of bats and I'm just going to have to throw directly on the wheel. When you make lids for anything, you're supposed to throw the lid immediately after you make the base of it, so that the lid and the base shrink at the same time. While I'm making the lid, I constantly am checking the size to make sure it'll fit into the jar. It's suggested that you make multiple lids for a jar and use whichever one fits best, and you would also have backups in case your lid breaks. But I don't have any more bats, so I had to make sure this one fits. So that's all the ceramics I had time to make this week. And to be honest, I don't even have time to be making this video. But I'm procrastinating because anything is funner than doing online summer school work. Thanks for watching, and please let me know if your dog has ever licked a toad.